Today, we will address an age-old question. The famous debate, we've all seen him on YouTube, the bald guy versus the guy with a cross. We are going to talk about atheists and theists. And we're going to talk about why they're both kind of wrong. I am going to take a couple steps back after that, actually, because I don't know for sure that both of them are wrong, all right? I just don't like their attitudes. I think that's my main thing that I'm going to say today. I don't love their attitudes. I don't love how they both think that they're right and they both think that it's obvious that they're right. I'm going to describe the type of debate that we've all seen on YouTube. The debate that I used to love, right? When I first left Mormonism, I loved watching these debates because they made me feel like I wasn't crazy. I like to watch really, really logical, quick thinking, sometimes British atheists, just like in my opinion at the time, just kind of dunking on people who believed in God. I liked to watch that. I don't like to watch it anymore. I think it's silly. I think it's shallow. I think it's dumb. The reason that I think it's dumb is this. A guy with nothing other than kind of like conditioned claims will get up and he'll say his piece. And then another guy with kind of conditioned claims will kind of just go up and just rebuttal that point right there. And then it kind of dies out and nobody changes their mind. And the conversation never progresses from there. In my opinion, that's not really a dialogue, right? I mean, debate is a good way to put it, but it's barely a debate. And it's definitely not a dialogue. A dialogue is two people kind of moving toward what they both consider to be the truth and kind of both trying to help each other get there. I feel that there's very little curiosity happening between those two people in the debate, and there's very little curiosity going on in the audience of the debate. So this is the question that I would like to see, and this is why I find them boring. I wish that after the atheist had told the Christian that you're wrong, and even if your God does exist, he's an evil God because of this verse that I found in the Old Testament that says slavery is okay, or something along those lines. You think that this guy is true, and I think that this guy is not true. It is an undeniable fact that a belief in God is a widespread, not even cultural, it is a special phenomenon. In fact, it's transspecial. What I mean by that is, I was looking at an article today, I will put it in the description. It talks about interesting burial rituals that the Neanderthals had. What is a ritual? Why would you combine burial practices and rituals unless you have some sort of a deity going on even then? The particular article that I was looking at today dates back to 50,000 years ago, which is kind of a long time, especially considering like there's probably been some sort of God belief by some sort of human species since then, right? That's 50,000 years. So could we talk about that question? I find that question to be fascinating. For me, there's kind of too much curiosity on the subject of what exactly are humans getting out of this relationship, whether or not the thing that they think they have a relationship with exists in a physical way or not. A lot of people think that they have a relationship with some sort of celestial father figure, and I find that to be much more interesting than does a human-shaped extraterrestrial who is all-knowing and all-loving live outside of this planet but have total control over the goings-on of this planet and maybe other planets? I don't find that to be an interesting question at all, and I find debates about it to be frankly shallow and boring. I'm going to do a kind of a more in-depth video about Paul Tillich and kind of the influence that he had on me and kind of some interesting ideas that he had. But I fall into this category that I started calling post-theism. Post-theism in a nutshell is kind of like you see some sort of mythological necessity for a godlike father figure as training wheels until you can kind of articulate your own code of ethics a little bit better, and then you can kind of leave that behind you. And so it's a way of conceptualizing God as a useful part of growing up, and then it's almost like a stage of reaching adulthood to put that behind you and face the world alone. That's the way that I think about it. I'm going to read to you something that I wrote. I wrote this all down last year when I was kind of in like the ends of a meaning crisis. I just wanted help thinking more clearly about this. And for me, there are two ways that I can think more clearly about something. I can talk it through in complete sentences, and sometimes that means putting a camera in front of me and talking, and sometimes that means talking with a friend. The other way that I could do it is I could just write down what I'm thinking, and then I can edit. In this time of my life, I was really trying to work this out individually because I didn't want other people's influences to kind of tell me what to think. And so here is what I wrote about what I think God is. Last October. God is the personification of your perceived reality as it is exposed/revealed to you. Perceived reality is the space where objective reality meets your subjective interactions with it. Think of a Venn diagram. One side is the objective world. The other side is your filter created by past environments and experiences. The place in the middle is the objective world after you filter it. This is reality. Understanding that your reality can be changed or bargained with either by outside action in the objective world or by making adjustments to the filter you are using to process the information is a fundamental religious truth. This fundamental revelation, for lack of a better word, changes our relationship with reality. We start to feel as though our actions have existential meaning. After all, changing perceived reality is no small task. Reality reveals itself to us, or we are enlightened, by a slow process of lifting us out of a state of implicit action and moving toward explicit intention. Let's call it moving from implicity to explicity. You might imagine an IV drip line, but instead of going into your arm, it's going into another bag. The first bag is implicity. The second is explicity. The enlightenment process is a series of slow, revelatory drips. Often we perceive the drips as intentional, as if there is a conscious being behind the scenes who is teaching us lessons. Because everyone is always learning different lessons, it is as if this being is omnipresent and omniscient. While it's normal for those who live in explicity to look down on the implicit as naive or foolish, this isn't right. People can live happy, fulfilling lives in both camps. Not everyone is born with the drive to uncover the implicit. I want to close with a couple ideas here. The first one is this. I believe that the enlightenment process is a personal process by which an individual will gather up, kind of soak up all of the cultural stories, all of the unspoken rules, all of the things that they've learned from their family and their church and their school and their friends and just interacting with humans in general. They'll soak all this up and then they will give it words. When I think about this, I think about the story of Moses, who was at the top of a hill and had some sort of an experience and came down and said, "Hey everybody, you know how our society has been working? We've been doing this. I wrote it down. These are the things we've been doing." And in that moment, he enlightened everybody around him. And you step forward in the story of the Bible and you reach the character of Jesus, and Jesus distills what Moses said even more. And Jesus says, you will love God above all things, and you will treat others as you would like to be treated. It's like Moses' 10 things became 2 things, and now it's distilled, and you really can't distill it anymore. I want to now compare this to something else, and forgive me if I'm getting a little bit too symbolic here, but I find this to be particularly fascinating. So when I say that you take all of these unspoken cultural norms and you turn them into words, you make them into speech, that is literally the story that Christianity has been telling us for hundreds and thousands of years at this point, is that there was kind of an ideal, and that ideal came into being, and that ideal was known as the Word. And then that ideal went through like a big long process of purification until that word became so dense that it it kind of fixed everything. I don't know how I don't know how else to explain this, because I'm right on the cusp of where I run out of words to explain things. But it's like this word was born. And so your rules become explicit, and then they become distilled. And when they're distilled just enough, then you have the tools necessary to overcome the pain and suffering of existence. I hope that that's not coming across as too like woo-woo-y or symbolic. I'm trying to be really, really like just forward thinking here and just kind of distill this right now as much as I can. I feel like this is the process happening for me right now with a camera and a microphone. I guess this comes with a challenge, and the challenge is this. Look deep inside of yourself and turn over all the stones and try to make a few things explicit. Try, like, spend a couple weeks and just kind of pay attention to the things that you do. Today went pretty well. I really felt like I was in the zone there for a while. I'm going to try and put words to that. I'm going to try and like concretize this. I want to make this something that I could explain to myself later and do again. And I don't know the method that's going to bring that out of you, because everybody's so different. But I do know that living in a world where as many people reach that level of self-understanding as possible would be an amazing thing for all of us. I really think that that would be something like the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And I find it much more appealing and much more exciting and much more likely and possible that heaven could be built right here by a whole bunch of individuals going through this process of personal enlightenment than to ever hope to wake up there after our hearts beat for the last time. I guess that's the video. I hope it wasn't too long. I have no idea how long this is going to be. If you enjoyed this, thank you. If you wanna stick around for more, then go for it. I have been putting my email address in the description on most videos. If you have an idea for a video, if you want to talk, shoot me something. Take care, everybody.